Yeah, good. But thank you for being here, Andy. We're excited to talk to you today about manifestation. But before we dive into it, because Murray and I have a lot of things to say and
So
think about
much to say
manifestation.
about manifestation. So many
So,
opinions.
so many opinions, strong opinions, loosely held. So it's
The
also
way to
like
go.
change our minds, but educate us. Before we do that, please tell us who you are and what you love and the chaos that you're seeing in your world right now.
Oh, great question. Who am I? I am a child of God. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Andy Hoffer. I'm a manifestation coach. I help women to start to align themselves with the person they need to be in order to do the things that they need to do to have the life that they love. And in my world, chaos is embraced and welcome because that is where growth happens. So
I'm gonna start off with a question then, because the chaos that I feel like I see, and I maybe because I want you to correct me or something. My question is, manifestation content online often swings between thoughts becoming things and just hustle harder and pray enough or want enough and it'll come your way. So the
mm,
chaos feels like a misunderstanding of what manifestation actually is. So can you clarify what it means to you?
absolutely. So I also recognize that when you look on social media, there's a lot of misinformation about it. And it can be this like abracadabra, I have $1 million. And that's like not what it is. I mean, it could be that, but that is such a low, tiny, microscopic percentage of what it could be because it just like happened to align like that. But manifestation and what I've seen in myself, in my clients, in my family, and other people around is a process of getting out of your own way in order to have the things that you want. And there's a lot of shadow work that happens in order to really hone the craft of manifesting. But it's really about bringing to your awareness where you have these blocks and like working on them so that you can start to see the opportunities. So you can see the romantic relationship that was living next door so that you can see how this other thing can happen. So it's really about doing that inner work so that you can start to align who you are to be able to hold that lifestyle that you want, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense to us. This is the work that we do too in many cases. What got you into this work in the first place? Was there some realization or big aha moment that you had and then a manifestation came into play for you and it changed things? What was your this is my path moment?
So I have been manifesting my whole life. My entire life, I've had things happen to me that I've called in, and I've just recognized the power of what your brain can do and how it can attract opportunities, how it can repel opportunities. Something that like is very prevalent is, meeting my husband. Like I knew exactly what I wanted in a husband. I knew his profession, I knew his height, I knew his eye color, I knew his hair color. Like I knew exactly what I wanted. And then lo and behold, I like meet the same person who I created as an avatar for my future husband like 3 weeks later. It's like coincidence?
Mm.
Probably not, but it comes down to just being able to sort of create the thoughts consciously. And what I've seen is whenever I'm talking to people and they want something, I can immediately pick out in people, okay, I can tell why you're not getting what you want. I can see in your language pattern, I can see in the things that you focus on why you're not seeing this other opportunity that like I see so very clearly. And when those things shift, like the language and the mindset, all of a sudden they can see this other opportunity. And I'm like, yeah, it's been there this whole time. But to
Mhm.
them, it's like, woo, poof, magic. And it really comes down
Mm.
to, I have always thought that, like I've always just done it, but seeing how other people struggle with it, I've always been very called to like, let me help you. Let me help you get out of your own way. So it's just always called to me. And it really kicked in. So I was a rocket scientist for over a decade. And I remember very clearly how, like, I understood that that path wasn't for me anymore. And I went through the whole, oh, I'm going to be a yoga instructor. I'm going to go be a meditation teacher, and like going through that process, but it leading me to really helping people on a one-on-one basis. And it's always been like, I've seen this person and I've supported them and I've helped them to see in them what they can't see for themselves. And from there, it's like, yep, that's the work. That's the work. Because I mean, living in that space that's pure chaos to me.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Okay, I've two things I wanna ask. I hope I remember them both. I wanna circle back to what you said about manifesting your husband. See, that's where I start to disagree with this, because the hair
Mhm,
color, the eye color, the height, the this, the that, the this, to me, that feels closed off. Like,
mhm,
what if your dream partner, let's just go in that avenue since we're talking about partnership, looked completely different than that, and you had your eyes set on something and you missed the opportunity to meet your dream partner because you thought the person that you just met didn't have brown hair and blue eyes, therefore this must not be my partner.
mm. Well, that is a very good point. And I teach exactly that, not to limit yourself. But this was,
Okay.
12 years ago when I'm thinking about what I want in a partner. And when I was doing this for myself, and in my example, I knew what I didn't want. And I didn't want anybody who looked like my ex husband. So I did everything that was like the opposite. Now, my potential other soulmate could have been somebody who looked exactly like my ex husband. But I was
Sure.
like, nope, that's not happening. That's not there. And you're right. There are many different ways that we can manifest. The first is the hyper specific, which is what I did with my husband. It's like, I want the hair color, I want the profession, I want this, I want like this type of person who doesn't drink much, or whatever it is that you're doing.
Mhm,
And you can absolutely miss out on somebody who's probably better matched to you. You can
mhm,
also manifest by feeling. It's like, I just want to feel loved and supported and cared for. But also, you might miss a quality and they're a cheater, they're abusive, so it's calling something into you. You have to understand people are dynamic, situations are dynamic. So just allowing for anything without any sort of direction,
mhm,
it can get tricky. It can get like, okay, this is like 95% of what I wanted. Is that good enough? Okay, maybe, but it's always honing in on, all right, I want this, I call this in, and then you start to recognize, well, I don't want this. So you keep moving along. So it's not like
mhm.
I want this person, and then that's the end of the story. That's what I
And
get.
then it's good.
That's that's the end of the story. So it's manifestation is always a moving target, because as you
Mhm,
start to live in contrast, and this is something that Abraham Hicks teaches, is as you start to live in the contrast of what you don't want, you're able to refine the things that you do want. So we'll go back to my ex-husband. With my ex-husband, I had certain criteria, and I met him, did not specify things like I didn't want them to be abusive, I didn't want them to be manipulative. And I was like, well, I don't want that. So I knew my next partner, when I'm calling them in, those are things that I also want. I want somebody who's loyal. I want somebody who's respectful. I want somebody who loves in a particular way. And it's always like a moving target, because we're always refining what we want and what we don't want. I mean, what
mhm,
you want when you're 20 is going to be different what you want when you're 40. So pulling
mhm.
things in is always going
Absolutely.
to be something different.
Interesting. And so I just want to point something out that potentially all of the listeners might not pick up on. You didn't necessarily, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not stating what you don't want. You took it and you changed the language into something a little bit more, what would you say? I don't like positive. I think fear for some people that don't understand this process or understand this work very much is this toxic positivity.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
everything's positive, positive, positive. I can't have any negative thoughts. Those have to be pushed aside. But then when they're pushed aside, that's how they get into the shadow. And so there's, if maybe a misunderstanding too around what that actually means.
Yeah. So, and, and I absolutely love talking about this. So I'm going to backtrack just for a second. Um, our brain works in a very particular way. Our brain is set up to protect us. So it's always scanning the environment for things that are important, the things that we deem as important. So, for instance, I'm sitting here in my bedroom. The thing I'm aware of is the camera, the laptop, the screen, the desk in front of me. But I know that my closet is there. I know that my clothes are there. I know my books are over there. I know this whiteboard's back there. But my brain isn't like conscious of these things, because if it were conscious of everything that's happening around me, I would go literally insane. So it blocks things out. So, to your point, when people are having negative thoughts, your brain is then saying, this is important. I need to find examples of this to bring to your attention, because to you, this is important. So language isn't about this toxic positivity, everything is okay, but you start to reframe things from the lack of not having something, and you start shifting it incrementally to, what do I actually want? How can I reframe this into something that will provide me with safety, security, love, financial independence, or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest? Because then it brings into your brain's awareness what's important. So then you start to see in your life all of those opportunities, all of those specific instances, and that system is, like, it's been studied. It's called the reticular activating system. Like, it's something that is known to the scientific community. So this particular part of the brain that is like, what are you bringing into your focus? What are you telling your brain is important? So if you keep saying, I don't have a job, 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 your brain thinks that's important. So it's going to notice where there is no job. And you keep saying, well, there's no jobs out there. You're right, because that's what you're focusing on. So it's not about saying, oh, all of a sudden there's a million opportunities. It's shifting incrementally, because your brain has been like focused on that thing for so long. It'll just keep reverting back to that because it's been important. So once you start to shift, then your brain can start to shift to, okay, maybe there are opportunities out there. Maybe I could look in another industry, maybe, like, and once you start doing that, then you start to create these new neural pathways that are going to start looking for the opportunities that are going to get you the things that you want.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
I'm glad you brought that RAS up, because I was in my brain thinking, I was like, there's a mechanism that is specific to this. And then you said it. I was like, yes. Yes. Amazing. Great.
Thoughts create our reality.
Yeah. There's so many things
Absolutely.
that I want to say believe, I'm in agreement with, and like, all yes to all of what you said. But I think where there's pause for me specifically, like, and I'm going to bring attention to something that you said, then I had a reaction to, of like, okay, what then? So go, going back to the husband thing, where you had specificity but not enough, and I'm paraphrasing just based on, again, what I heard. And so when you were looking for your next partner, what you said essentially was like, I didn't specify that I didn't want to be abused. And so now going into my next relationship, I can specify that. And so what I hear from that, though, is that like, and maybe I'm inferring this, but like, I think this is potentially what's happening to for a lot of other people. I'm inferring that what you're saying too is that you manifested this man that is abusive. And like, to me, that's very fucking harmful to say, that
Mm.
that's your fault because you didn't manifest your first husband properly. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and the
Like
shame that
that,
comes with that.
Right, and that's what I took from that. Not to say that you did that, but the inference that I received from that was her manifestation. She didn't do a good enough job. And again,
Right.
Mm.
not a judgment call, just a what I'm hearing. Right?
Yeah.
What do you say
And
to
then that
that?
could also create some
You know?
fear in, am I manifesting properly? Am I asking for the right things? How will I know? And then there's that doubt that creeps
Yeah.
in.
And then even on the flip side of that too, it's like, let's say that you do practice manifestation and then you're searching for that thing and it doesn't come. And then you're like, well, I'm fucking shitty at this. You know, I
Mm. Mm.
I was supposed to get that job and I saw myself get that promotion. And then it came to Sally Joe on the other side of my desk. And now I suck at life.
Now what? Yeah, I did it wrong. I must not be good at this. Yeah. Do you see that, Andy, a lot?
Well, so yes. However, I'd like to push back just a little bit.
Yes.
Please do.
So the inference there is that um I manifested the abuse. That's from what I heard. Okay. So yes and no. And I'm going to just clarify this for a second because we only allow in our universe what we allow. So I could have met my ex-husband and immediately recognized his manipulation and been like, nope, I definitely don't want that. But yet, at that point in my life where I was allowing it into my life, for me, that was a journey I had to go on. So it wasn't necessarily that I manifested the abuse, but at that point, my sort of process involved having to go through that so that I could definitively say, no, I don't want that. At that time, I didn't know. At
Mhm.
that time, I was somebody who was a people pleaser, like a severe people pleaser. Now, again, I could have manifested the exact same person who wasn't abusive. Would I have liked him as much? Probably not, but that
Right.
was my journey. So it comes down to, it's like, we also have to come from a place of, yeah, I met my husband who's, like I said, the hair, the profession, the whatever. I could have met somebody else who was exactly like him, who had a different personality because I didn't say that. Now, what do I allow in my life? That's the other piece of it. I could manifest the job that pays the six figures, that has the work-life balance, but, I have coworkers are all assholes. And then I
Yeah.
sit there and I think, but then I have to go through the process to learn, wait, I don't want that either. So that's where we go into the refining and say, okay, the next step is, okay, I want the six figures. I want the work-life balance, and I want coworkers who are nice to me. But then you get that job and then it's like, but then now I only get 2 weeks of vacation rather than 6. Okay, but I want 6 weeks of vacation. So it's a process of refining. But when I met my ex-husband, it wasn't that I called in the abuse. I happened to call in the things that I want attached to somebody who was also abusive. And at that time, I didn't have that level of discernment where I'm like, well, I don't want that in my life, because that was my own particular journey.
Mhm. Yeah. And then this is where the self-awareness comes in, the shadow work comes in, and all the other parts of really knowing, being vulnerable and knowing who you are, admitting and accepting these parts of yourselves to do something about it in order to clarify the manifestation. Is that kind of
Yeah,
the pattern?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because there are programs and operating systems that are happening in your subconscious that you need to have exposed so that you can continue to refine and say, I want that. I don't want that. What is
Mhm.
my actual thought? What is my actual want? Am I just wanting this because society expects me to, because I'm a woman, because my mom says that I have to get my PhD or else I'm worthless? Or like, what are the things that like I've adopted from other people versus what are the things that like are actually me? Again, for
Mhm.
instance, with my ex-husband, it was much like, once you get married, you stay married no matter what. It doesn't matter what he does to you. And I had to break free from that sort of
Mhm.
mindset in
Paradigm.
order to
Yeah.
be able to then refine, like, okay, I don't want that, and actually sit and think, what do I want? What is the type of person that I want in my life?
Mhm.
And so you just go, and it's an iterative process. So it's not this, I've called in the negative aspect, but it's
Mhm.
like, once you're confronted with the negative aspect, that's your call to start doing the shadow work and start to do the refining. And so
Mhm.
my goal is to help women catch that way sooner than having, 10, 15, 20 years down the line of jobs they don't love, relationships they don't love, a health that's subpar, and being able to, like, really start to reach for something more sooner.
Yeah, and, people this is where people can get so stuck too because it's just everything they don't like is just right in front of them, and it's where their focus goes. Their attention is going on everything that sucks instead of maybe exploring a realm of possibility because it's hard for people, especially when we're single parents, married parents, not parents living in this crazy world that we're in right now, trying to find a job, and trying to make it. The world is chaotic. We're all just trying to do our best. But I also want to circle
Yeah.
back because you were talking like about these paradigms and you said you notice people's language specifically. Uh Samesies. I'm a stickler for words. So what else do you notice outside of the language that leads you to believe that they're stuck in a paradigm?
So generally their language is like number one. Are they referencing
Mhm.
other people all the time? Are they saying things that um, are like in disagreement with the way that they actually move? Do they not see in them like how their behaviors are directly impacting themselves? I was working with a woman who, she kept saying, I need to lose this weight because I'm not healthy. She was like on the precipice. She was like pre-diabetic. And so she was like, I have to, start eating better, start doing that. And I'm like, all right, great. What does that mean? And she's like, well, I guess just, not eating bread. I'm like, okay, that could be it, but what else? And so saying I need to do XYZ, but not really understanding what that means, and just kind of having a nebulous, like, I know I have to do this action, and not really doing a deep dive into how does it actually apply to me? How can I um, actually implement this thing into my life? Because going from having an unhealthy lifestyle to a healthy one, well, that can be so many things. That can
Oh yeah.
mean so many different things, but we just hold ourselves to this impossible standard because we don't have the definition of what's happening. And so they're living in this sort of dual reality of, I know this piece of me has to change, but I don't know how to do it. But I'm going to continue to say, I know I need to do it, but I don't know what to do. And just this like cycle
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens.
See, that's where I would like I need to. That to me
Mhm.
is one of them right there. Like, what if that was reframed to I want to, and then letting your brain start to create a desire around the thing instead of a force or a requirement. Does
Yeah.
that count
So
as
the need
manifestation?
versus want. Yeah. So the need versus want definitely does project different vibrations. A need has a sense of urgency, has a sense of like, I have to do it right now. And
Mhm.
want does create a sense of abundance, flow, and expansion. However, sometimes out of the need can be born the wants. Has
Mm.
sometimes, like with the client, that she needed to do it because it was like health impact, that it was,
Mhm.
pretty imminent that, the direction she was headed in was, not serving her. From that can blossom the wants to, I want life. I want to be healthy for my children. I want to, so it's not the, I need or I want to change my dietary habits, but it can birth the other wants in different areas. So it's like, so that it will adjust the thing that needs to change.
2 quick things.
First, we are working our asses off over here, as always, to bring you fresh chaos every week. Do us a solid, like, subscribe, rate, review, so the algorithm keeps us open and available to all of you so that you keep seeing us and we keep doing what it is that we love to do.
Second, we run a weekly container for women who are done deliberating and ready to execute. It's called the Accountability Club. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like.
If you're a service provider, a coach, or a content creator, this space is for you.
Inside, you're going to get weekly calls where we actually do the work. There's no modules, there's no passive content. It's just showing up and getting shit done together. You're going to be in a private community for unfiltered feedback, drafts, shower thoughts. You'll have direct access to Amari and myself and to other women who won't let you stay stuck because you're going to get that unshakable knowledge that someone's going to ask you every Tuesday if you did the thing.
You'll also get 11 weeks worth of business training that will take you from chaos to clarity to finally launch the thing.
We're taking members soon, so get on the wait list now by clicking the link in the show notes.
Come get shit done. I get that. And I think from a perspective of us being coaches, like I don't want to say it's easy, but I think it comes easier for us to be able to see those patterns and recognize certain behaviors and how that leads to certain outcomes. And especially as an outsider, right? We have a unique skill set and also we get a different perspective than somebody who's inside of their own situation. And I would love to hear what folks who are trying to manifest or have these desires and have these wants, but don't necessarily know what to do with that beyond just having the desire. Like I couple manifestation with affirmations because I think they're hilarious. Like to me, affirmations are a bunch of bullshit. I think they're fucking stupid. And so, for the folks that are in the thick of it and they're like, I'm using my affirmations, I'm writing my desires down, nothing is moving. Like, where is it that they can first start to apply something, or like what's a good first step for them, obviously aside from hiring you as a coach, but like something that they can do for themselves to even have the cognizance to think, maybe I need help with this, let's hire them. I'm right.
Yeah. So you bring up a great point. I also believe affirmations are shit because they're born out of the ultimate goal. And like I said, you can't go from 0 to 100. Like you can't feel shitty and just look in the mirror and be like, I'm having the best day ever as you're like sobbing with like your makeup streaming down your face. That's just not how it works.
Not real. Yeah.
But I think a good way for people to recognize that they need help is when they're like, feel like they are doing everything that they're supposed to be doing and they're still not getting the result that they want. That is a time that should be the trigger to like say, okay, well, I can't see what I'm doing wrong. So I need an outside perspective. And that could be a coach, a therapist, or just even asking a very emotionally intelligent friend, like, hey, what do you see in me that is happening? Which can be very hard because, like again, I'm also somebody who doesn't like to ask for help. So I totally get it. But yet that is a very good indication, if you're spinning your wheels, like trying, and it's just not budging, then there's a piece that's missing that somebody with an outside perspective and specific skill sets can help you to adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say, or are there common ones that you see most often with folks that like this is where you are stuck?
Oh, so the most common, and I've fallen for this too. It's the trap of when I have X, I will feel Y. When I have the husband, I will be whole. When I have the job, I will feel financially secure. When I have the ideal weight, I will feel pretty. When I have X, I will be Y. Saying the things that are external to you are going to complete you is another big indication that you're doing the process backwards.
Yeah. Right. Because the assumption is that you're not whole. You're not already whole.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's based off of the fact that you believe that you're not whole, and that
Mm.
that external thing is going to fill that gap, or fix what you believe is broken. So in order for manifestations to happen, we have to be the person who can hold the lifestyle, the container, the thing that we want in integrity. So when you're living from a place of being that person, you will automatically start to understand what are the actions that you need to take in order to get to the place where you have the thing that you want. But the process to get there is actually to do it in reverse, defining very specifically, by defining what it is that you actually want, seeing, do you even believe you can attain it? Do you even know how to get there? Do you know the actions to get there? Do you believe that this is something that was meant for you? And working on that piece. And then you walk it back to, okay, the if my highest self had this thing already, what would they be doing? And starting to work on, okay, those are the things I have to do. I have to start applying to jobs. I have to do my resume. I have to, start dating. I have to, start taking care of my health, whatever that may be. And then, okay, so those are the things I need to do. Now, the person who does those things, what do they believe? Where do they operate from? What are the things that they value? And does that align with me? Do I believe in those things? Do I value those things? So at each part of reverse engineering the things that you want to manifest, you have to always start to look at what's the program behind it. What are the things? What are the beliefs? Because if you define what you want and you're like, I don't even think I could get that. So then it's time to rethink, okay, let's maybe walk it back a few steps. That doesn't mean put off your dream forever. It just means we have to walk it back a few steps to a place where we believe we can attain this thing, that we know that we're destined to have this,
Mhm.
and then start, okay, what are the actions I would need to take in order to get that? Can I do it? Do I know how to do it? Because that's the other thing, is there could be a skills gap. And then finally being like, what are the values of somebody who does this thing? Oh, they work hard, they come from love, they come
Yeah.
from a place of respect for themselves. And do I have those things? Okay, well, I haven't been respecting myself, so let me work on that, so that then I can start operating in a way that is respectful to myself, so that I can have the thing that I want. So that having that mentality of oh, when I have that thing, I'll be fine. That's missing 1,000 steps in
Yeah.
order to
You're
get
just
there.
it's a bypass that's happening, right? Because here's the other thing that's interesting. When you said, "Oh, who am I operating as my highest self?" I would imagine that some people just because applying for jobs is not me operating as my highest self. That's not that.
Yeah.
My highest self already has the job. My highest self is, you know, outdoors for half the day because my business is running itself and I'm successful and money is flowing to me. And so there can be this space in between for people too, where maybe they have the opportunity because they have the time to do all of to be in that energy and to do all of the things they love. And I'm manifesting because I'm in my highest frequency, but then they haven't stepped back enough to see the work and the aligned action that needs to take place for the manifestation to materialize. So
Yeah.
that's, I think,
Yes.
where there's a myth too in all of this. Manifestation is
Oh,
work.
absolutely. Yeah. I always say manifesting is easy. Becoming the person who manifests consciously is a lot of work. It's very
A
hard
lot of work. Okay,
because
I
it
like that.
forces
I like that.
you to define what are your values. It forces you to define, what are you capable of, and actually look at that. Because uh, I might want to
And then
be
do
a
the work with
CEO
it.
of a Fortune 500, but do I have the capacity for that? Probably not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really forcing you to look at you.
Yeah. I always find that so fascinating too, because clients, people have these big dreams like this fortune, the CEO of a Fortune 500, that sounds fucking horrific to me. I would hate that. but there's something
Right.
that about that is attractive to people. And I like to dig a little bit deeper. Like, what is it about that is attractive? That is so attractive? Is it the power? Is it the money? Is it the freedom that comes with it? Is it the responsibility? Like, there's some trait about that role that your soul is calling to, and it's not the
Mm.
title. Let's just, and if it is, then maybe there's some more digging that you can do. But there's certain, I like to really peel back, because if it's freedom, then let's take a look where you have freedom in your life already. So you can already see that part of you is here. You just haven't acknowledged that part of you. And then that sometimes makes it easier to step into that version too.
Yeah. And so you mentioned freedom, but it's like, if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500, do you believe that there's freedom and it's not really there? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the other piece is that reality? Is that something like,
Mhm.
I look at Elon Musk and like all he does is work. Like all the failed relationships, all the like the lifestyle that like every single one of them have had is like, do you really know for a fact that there's freedom there? Do you know what it's like to have cameras in your face all the time, to have to do all these keynotes, to have to do all the like, is that freedom? And sort of
The
align like what is
what does
in
freedom
the
mean to you?
3D and yeah, in reality, but you say you want freedom, but maybe that comes at being middle management versus the CEO.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think that just goes back to what you were talking about earlier is the refinement piece of
Right.
understanding the full capacity of what it is that you're asking for and the layers that exist within that desire. Like it's not just one thing. There's so many other things at play and so many other contributing factors to that experience that you have to it's when I do at least feel something I don't want to say positive, but like when I think about manifestation in the sense that, like, yes, I believe this, it's that part where you really have to understand all of the complexities and the layers and the things that go into it, because otherwise you're going to come out on the end, one, not thinking that you manifested what you want, because what you wanted wasn't what actually what you wanted. What you got is something totally aside from the thing that you had aspired to receive anyways. And so it feels like a failure. And you're like, this is not that's not it. So
It's not
therefore
it.
I right, rather than accepting the responsibility, which is ours, to understand the full capacity of what it is that we're asking for, what it is that we're calling in, and potentially what that's going to do with the other aspects of our life, because everything is going to be affected by something that we choose. And so you really got to get clear like, yes, maybe you want to be a CEO, but what that also means is that you might not have time with your family and you might not have time to hang out and go out and do things with your friends and all these things. Like, yes, you'll have money, but you might not be able to spend it. Right. And so that's just being, having the clarity to fully see and experience the picture. And I think that's where
Yeah.
I at least am in alignment with manifestation. Like I will see all of the possibilities and I will play them in my mind. I'm like, oh, I don't actually really like that at all.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And every manifestation is just a stepping stone to the next manifestation, because each manifestation is okay, I tried this on. Are there aspects that I like? Are there aspects that I don't like? Okay, I can refine it for the next thing. And that's really where I work with women is, you don't just marry, and maybe you do, but you don't just marry the first guy you go on a date with. You meet him and you say, oh, I actually like that, maybe he paid for dinner. I like that. Oh, but he kind of didn't have really good conversation. I value that. So I would like somebody who has that. And it's an iterative process, not just I've manifested this thing and now I'm stuck with it the rest of my life. The trick is to catch it sooner so that you can keep refining it, but that means that you have to go out and do things. You have to try things. Your dream boat's not just gonna walk up to your door and be like, hey, I'm here. Like God sent me. Like that's not reality.
Oh my gosh, this reminds me of I don't know if it's a joke or it's like one of those things, I'm sure you've all have heard it, but This guy, he's out in the water and he's
Yeah.
drowning. And he's like, God's gonna
Yeah,
save
yeah,
me.
yeah.
God is coming. And a guy rows by and he's on a boat. And he's like, "You need help?" He's like, "I've got this."
God, God's got
We're
this. Yeah.
super fucking good here. And he continues to miss all of the boats until he dies. And then he goes to heaven. And he's like, "God, where were you?" And he's like, "Bro, I sent you 3 boats." What the
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's
Accept the help. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And, just for a little synchronicity, my mom told me that same exact story yesterday.
stop.
I love. Yeah.
She was trying to tell me, God helps those who help themselves. And I'm like, okay, Mom. But that was the same story she told me yesterday. I I actually know a woman who met her husband because he ran her over with his car by accident. And things like that do happen. But at the same time, like, that's not the story to end all stories, right?
Right.
That's just one way of an infinite number of possibilities in which you can meet somebody. Yeah, maybe the guy who accidentally rings my doorbell could have been my soulmate and not my husband. Maybe I sat at the wrong table at the restaurant that I met my husband at and met the guy of my dream. Like, so many things could have happened. But again, with the RIS, scanning and looking for the things that I'm asking for because that's what's important to me. And until I meet my husband, until I like talk to him, I don't know if the criteria is met. I don't know what's happening. And so it's just a process of refining what it is that you want as you go along.
Yep. And insert thing here, like, we keep using this like husband as the example, but friendship,
Yeah.
job, career,
Everything.
hobby, anything, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even within your career, being able to pivot, like, especially as entrepreneurs, it's like you try something out, like it's called the sunk cost fallacy. I've been hammering away at this thing for so long and like it has to work now, but it's like, can you pivot and try to create something new with this new criteria of what you don't want to have happen? It's like, I don't
Mhm.
want something that's going to take 6 years to come true. I want something that's, maybe I create something and I can sell it quickly. And so it's all about the refinement. It's never about like, oh, I've manifested this thing and that's it. Because there's no joy in having the thing. The joy is in the creation of the thing.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom around this. Really enjoyed having you on. Before we wrap up, do you want to share what you have going on, how people can connect with you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. May 13th at noon Eastern time, I'm going to have a masterclass on be, do, have. And I'm going to launch my 21-day experience where it's going to be a self-guided journey on how to define your manifestations, how to define the actions to get what you want, and how to align yourself with a person who can manifest those things. You can find me on my YouTube at Andy Hoffer and on LinkedIn at Coach Andy Hoffer and my website, andyhoffercoaching.com.
Good.
Yay.
If this conversation sparked anything, any form of curiosity in your brain,
Yes.
share
Oh,
it, like it,
if it
subscribe.
triggered you in either direction, if you felt
Yeah.
compelled by it, either in agreement or you are fucking mad at whatever the fuck we
Mad.
said, subscribe.
Yeah.
Love us. Hate us.
Love it.
Go in the comments. It doesn't matter. We would love it to be subscribed, but it doesn't have to be.